Hey, what's going on, guys? So SCUM just dropped a pretty huge update, and there is actually a lot more going on here than just a couple of balance tweaks and bug fixes. The first thing I want to talk about is the new tutorial setup, because that is probably the biggest change for new players and even for returning players who have not touched the game in a while. There is now a full tutorial experience inside the TEC1 Conditioning Facility, and that is a smart move. Instead of throwing you straight into the deep end and hoping you figure it out as you go, the game now gives you a place to learn movement, stealth, basic crafting, treatment, combat, and all the stuff that usually takes way too long to learn the hard way. That alone is a massive quality of life improvement. It also means the early hours should feel way less confusing because you are not just staring at menus and trying to guess what matters first. On top of that, the island tutorial system has been reworked too, which is a nice touch. You are not locked into one rigid path anymore. You can pick up the tutorials you actually need, whether that is survival, crafting, metabolism, economy, base building, or hunting, and deal with them in whatever order makes sense for you. That kind of flexibility matters a lot in a game like this because everybody plays differently. Some people want to build first, some want to hunt, and some just want to get their basic survival stuff sorted before doing anything else. The fact that the objectives now focus more on results instead of forcing every single action in a fixed sequence should make the whole thing feel a lot less annoying. Now, for the players who are more into hunting, this update is where things get interesting. The game has added mutant deer, boar, and wolves, and those are not just palette swaps or slightly tougher versions of existing animals. These are clearly meant to be a core part of the new hunting content, especially with the Master Hunter questline tied to them. That whole system sounds like a proper progression ladder. You start with one tier, then move into harder hunts, and then eventually you are dealing with mutant wolves, which already sounds like a bad time in the best possible way. I like that the quests are not just go kill this thing and come back. There are conditions now. You might need the right weapon, you might need to bring back specific parts in good condition, and that makes the hunts feel more deliberate. The rewards are pretty wild too. This is one of those times where the game is actually giving you stuff that feels worth the effort. You are not just getting some generic currency and moving on. You can earn weapons, hunting gear, base building recipes, charms, trophies, and pieces of the Master Hunter outfit. That gives the whole hunting line a real sense of payoff. It also means that if you like collecting stuff, there is finally a reason to keep pushing through those harder quests instead of treating them like side content. And I think the fact that some of the rewards are base building recipes is a really good move because it ties the hunting systems into the broader survival loop instead of keeping them isolated. There is also a nice little reminder in the patch notes that the anniversary quest is still available for a limited time, and that one gives out the Carbon Hunter Ironpaw skin recipe. So if anyone has not touched that yet, it is still sitting there waiting to be done. That is the kind of thing people can easily miss, so it is worth keeping in mind before it disappears. Beyond the new content, there are a bunch of practical updates that are going to make day-to-day play smoother. The drop all and pick up all options are great examples of that. Small feature, huge impact. If you have ever spent too much time juggling items between your clothing, containers, vehicles, and the ground, you already know why that matters. The Trader Depot getting a pick up all button is also one of those changes that sounds minor until you use it a few times and realize how much time it saves. The refreshed crafting, cooking, and base building tabs should also make the menus easier on the eyes and a bit more consistent with the updated inventory layout. That kind of cleanup matters more than people think because when a survival game is full of menus, the menus need to work with you, not against you. Another change worth mentioning is the taunt menu split. That might sound random, but it makes sense if the list has gotten too crowded. Instead of cramming everything into one awkward radial menu, the base game and DLC taunts are now separated, which should make them easier to find and use. And for official servers, the player cap going from 64 to 80 is a pretty big jump. That changes the feel of the server in a real way. More people usually means more chaos, more encounters, and more chances for things to get interesting very quickly. Of course, there are also the fixes, and this patch cleans up a ton of different areas. Animals now behave better, take damage more properly, and react more naturally to danger. There are fixes for weapons, quest delivery, base building placement, vehicles, user interface issues, and a long list of level design problems. A lot of these are the kind of bugs that players might not always notice individually, but together they add up to a much better experience. Things like animals ignoring predator sounds, blueprints sticking in weird spots, or certain menus overlapping buttons can get annoying fast. So seeing all of that addressed is good news. There is one known issue worth keeping in mind too. The game can crash during the transition to the island if you are using DLSS Balanced or Performance with DirectX 11. The workaround is to switch to DirectX 12, use a different DLSS preset, or try another upscaling option. So that is something to watch out for if you run into trouble loading in. Overall, this update feels like a really solid mix of new systems and cleanup. It gives newer players a much better starting point, gives hunters a whole new progression path, and makes everyday inventory and menu management a lot less clunky. It is the kind of patch that does not just add content, it actually changes how the game feels to play from the moment you log in and start moving around.